Welcome to Pod Me If You Can, I'm David Farrell. Today's film stars Christina Applegate. It's Claudine's Return from 1998.
Pardon me if you can. Movie reviews.
An Italian drifter named Stefano, played by Stefano Dionisi, arrives on Dolphin Island off the coast of Georgia and starts working as a handyman at the local motel. He meets Claudine Van Dusen, played by Christina Applegate, a young woman who works as a maid and laundry girl in his motel. Later that night at the club, he finds out she's also a stripper. Now, Claudine, who's the title character of this film, has a lot of emotional baggage. She ran away from home when she was 16. Her brother shot himself. And also, just so you know, she's bisexual, which doesn't really matter in the context of the plot, just to show her kind of going into a room with a woman from time to time, which I suppose is meant to add some kind of depth and intrigue to her character, but it is not important at all to the plot. The thing about the plot here is that 30 minutes goes by and not much really happens in the film. They just run into each other and chat, and it's quite slow and monotonous. There is a scene-stealing cockatoo that costs $1,800 that they steal from a shop and liberate. The bird is actually owned by Paula Deen, and there's an interesting backstory. You can look for it online. But Paula Deen owns the cockatoo, is the long and short of it. They have sex in a car, and then she immediately starts treating him like rubbish. She pretends Stefano doesn't exist. It's very odd behaviour, and it feels a bit like there's a scene or a reel of the film missing, where they had a big fight, because she immediately starts just treating him badly. This is the dynamic of the film. They kiss, and then they fight. And there's no real reason for the fighting at any time. It's just to create drama in an otherwise fairly light film. The actor looks a bit like Rodrigo Santoro, but he doesn't have too many lines. There's often great monologues that go to Christina Applegate in this film. And this might be because he's a popular Italian actor. Maybe his English was not so good in 1998, and maybe they gave the bulk of the dialogue to her as a result. It's not clear.
Thanks. I had fun.
Hey, you had fun, right?
Yeah.
There's a subplot where at the motel where they're working, some people are making pornography. Now, this would be fine, but it really has no bearing on the film. Neither of the main actors is enlisted to be in the pornography. Neither of them encounters it in any menacing way, and it's really just something else that's happening in the background. There are some horrible effects in this film, and the strobe effect was particularly bad. There is this horrible song playing, and she says, "Close your eyes and count to 10, and runs off, and makes him chase her. And it's such a frustrating, hard-to-watch kind of effect. Not well put together. Her character just deteriorates during the film and does nothing but tries to push Stefano away. She says things like, "You think that I have feelings for you?" Ultimately, it is such a boring script. It's so hard to watch. They must have known what they had. They had Christina Applegate, and she was coming off married with children. And so they thought to themselves, here's what we'll do. We'll get her in this film. We'll make her a stripper. That'll get the butts in the seats, And they have this scene over an hour into the film where she changes clothes in a bathroom stall. And ultimately, this is just really low on dialogue, on plot. And there's a real problem with the ending, because the emotional impact of the ending is really taken away when you've watched two people fight. And you don't really care about whether or not they live or die or end up together, because basically you're just watching these two people going, ugh, they're not good for each other. The version of this DVD I watched is obviously called Claudine's Return, but they rebranded this as Kiss of Fire at one point to sell more copies and focus on the more sexual elements of the story. If you got that DVD, you probably didn't get nearly what you thought you were getting. This is a very light kind of dramatic film, and one I would probably give a miss.
Thanks for watching. If you like what you see, please hit the subscribe button. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Check out our podcast at www.podmeifyoucan.com.